Hey everyone, welcome and welcome back to Beyond the Clock, a channel dedicated to helping late bloomers and those feeling behind redefine success and take intentional steps toward the life they want. So, we're heading into week 2 of our January of Becoming a Better You challenge. I created a calendar that has an animal assigned to each month. I'll put it in the description if you want to download it. The theme for January is the eagle, meaning, vision, clarity, and those big exciting possibilities for the new year. And today, for day 8, we're talking about revisiting childhood joy. Circling back to something really fundamental about ourselves, like the things that brought us pure joy before life got, you know, complicated. Now, how can something as simple as, I don't know, like playing a childhood game or picking up a coloring book actually lead to a real shift in your, grown up life? Well, that's where the science comes in. Research actually shows that revisiting those childhood joys can have real benefits, measurable benefits. For example, studies have shown that engaging in these activities can actually lower your cortisol levels, the stress hormone. Kind of similar to like the effects of taking a walk in nature we talked about on day 6. So it's not only about feeling good in the moment, there's actually a real physiological impact. And the benefits, they don't stop at just stress reduction either. Studies show that it can boost your creativity and even improve your mood, like hitting a mental reset button and letting you tap into a more, playful, imaginative headspace. So, how does this all connect to the bigger picture? I want you to think back to when you were a kid. What were you drawn to? What lit you up? Often those childhood joys are deeply connected to like our core values, the stuff that really matters to us deep down. By revisiting those things, we're not just taking a trip down memory lane. We're reconnecting with like our authentic selves. It's nostalgic and about self-discovery. It's about peeling back all those layers of, you know, adulting and rediscovering those passions that might have gotten buried under all the responsibilities and expectations. And that rediscovery, well, it can lead to a deeper sense of self acceptance and even emotional healing. Now, you might be asking, if we're so busy with, work, family, and all the demands of being a grown up, how are we supposed to actually make time for something that honestly might feel a little frivolous? I hear you. Time is precious, but remember, even those little steps, they can make a big impact. Start with just 15 minutes a day doing something you loved as a kid. 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be complicated. Maybe listen to music that brings back good memories, pull out an old board game, or even just spend a few minutes doodling. Whatever works. Maybe dust off an old sketch pad. For me, I've always loved coloring, but as an adult, it's always felt a little silly. Like, it's not a serious hobby, and I think it comes from this idea that being an adult has to be all about productivity and achievement. Engaging in activities that bring us joy, even if they don't seem productive on the surface, well, that's actually essential for our well being, right? And self care is productive. But I know it's hard to shake that feeling of what will people think? Like, what will people think if they see me coloring in a coloring book? Like, am I regressing or something? I get it. We're conditioned to believe that certain activities are just for kids, but really those societal expectations, they can be incredibly limiting. And who even gets to define what's appropriate for an adult anyway? Those are totally arbitrary rules. But still, how do you deal with that judgment, whether it's from other people or even, from that little voice inside your own head? That inner critic can be tough. I think it's about reframing your perspective. Instead of looking at these activities as childish, see them as acts of self-care and creativity. Just like you take care of your physical health, you can take care of your mental and emotional health too. It's about prioritizing your own well-being and giving yourself permission to do things that bring you joy no matter what other people might think. It's like saying, hey, I'm taking care of myself, and this is what that looks like for me. It's reclaiming that sense of freedom, that playfulness that we often lose as we get older. And if you're not comfortable sharing it with the world, you don't have to. Start with something small just for you. See how it feels. You might be surprised at the positive ripple effects it can have in other areas of your life. Start with something private, like drawing in a sketchbook or playing a video game by yourself. But what if you want to do something more social, like join a board game group or take a dance class? That's where finding your tribe comes in. It's important to surround yourself with people who get it, people who support you and encourage you. Maybe it's friends who are also into rediscovering their childhood joys, or maybe it's finding a community of people who share your passion. It's creating this safe space where you can be yourself without worrying about what other people think. And remember, you don't need everyone to understand or approve. The important thing is that you're honoring your own needs and doing things that bring you joy. Now, if you're drawing a blank when it comes to specific activities, here's where to start. Just think back to your childhood. What did you naturally gravitate towards? What made you lose track of time? You could have loved building these crazy, elaborate Lego creations. Spending hours in your own little world coming up with all these stories and scenarios. Building with Legos, it's not just stacking blocks. It's about problem solving, spatial reasoning, and creativity. You were tapping into your storytelling abilities too. It's basically world building, creating narratives, that feeling of creating something unique, something real, something you could hold in your hands. And that feeling of accomplishment, that satisfaction, well, that's something you can still experience today. Think about how those skills, those passions, could translate into things you could enjoy now as an adult. Maybe you could try something like woodworking or even like 3D printing. And someone who loved playing dress up could get into fashion or costume design. Find those connections and adapt them to fit your life now. And remember, it's not about being an expert or doing things perfectly. It's about enjoying the process, exploring, and rediscovering that inner spark. It's all about finding those connections and adapting them to your current life, your interests, your lifestyle. It's about embracing that spirit of playfulness and exploring what brings you joy today. Here's how other people have actually revisited their childhood joys. For instance, one person talked about how they reconnected with their love of playing the piano, something they'd given up as a teenager. They started taking lessons again and found that it not only brought back that joy, but also helped them de-stress and focus better at work. It's like they were able to get back a part of themselves they thought they'd lost. And there's another example about someone who rediscovered their childhood love of building model airplanes. They ended up joining a local hobby group, and not only did it give them a creative outlet, but it helped them connect with people who shared their passion. It's like a whole new world of possibilities, of connections just opened up. And that's the beauty of revisiting childhood joys. It can lead to unexpected benefits and open doors you never even knew were there. Now, if you're worried that you'll try something and you feel that you're just not good at it anymore, remember, it's not about being good at it. It's about the process, the enjoyment, and allowing yourself to be a beginner again. That's where that childlike mindset comes in. Kids, they're not afraid to try new things, to mess up. They're naturally curious, eager to learn. They don't get bogged down by perfectionism. It's something we can all learn from. I, too, need to let go of that need to be perfect and just allow myself to play, to have fun. And who knows, maybe we'll discover some hidden talents or passions we never even knew we had. Remember, it's a journey, not a destination. Just follow your curiosity and see where it leads. Drawing, playing games, and exploring nature is not only about picking up a crayon or heading to the park. It's about understanding the principles behind them. Take drawing, for example. It's about how it can help us develop our focus, our observation skills. That ability to, translate what we see onto paper, those are skills that can benefit us in all areas of life, from solving problems at work to just appreciating the beauty around us. So it's about taking those core elements and applying them in different ways. When I was coloring, I was totally absorbed and laser focused on all the little details. It was almost meditative. That ability to focus and be present, that's a valuable skill in today's world. And it's the same with playing games. Games, whether it's board games, video games, even just word games, can help us develop strategic thinking, problem-solving abilities, even social skills. When I play games, I'm always thinking ahead, trying to figure out the best strategy, outmaneuver my opponent. And those mental workouts can have a real impact on other areas of your life. Think of it like cross-training for your brain. Even reading fairy tales or children's books can spark your imagination. So it's not just about the activity itself, it's also about the mental state it puts us in, that feeling of like flow and engagement. And that state of flow, it's incredibly beneficial for our mental and emotional well-being. So what about exploring nature? I know we talked about like nature walks, but how does that fit into this whole idea of revisiting childhood joys? Think back to being a kid again. Remember that feeling of awe and wonder when you'd find a cool bug, climb a tree, or just run through a field. That's the kind of connection to nature we often lose as we grow up. I used to spend hours exploring the nature at the parks, building forts, pretending I was on these big adventures. And those experiences, they weren't just fun and games, they were shaping our brain and our sense of self. Being in nature can reduce stress, boost creativity, even improve our attention spans. So it's not just about getting fresh air, it's about reconnecting with that sense of like wonder and curiosity that we had as kids. It's about seeing the world through those fresh eyes, appreciating nature's beauty and complexity, and being present in the moment, really present. Whether it's drawing, playing games, or exploring nature, it's about those childlike qualities: curiosity, imagination, that playfulness. And the best part, there's no one right way to do this. You could also find activities that really engage your senses. Like, remember when we were always touching, tasting, smelling, just exploring everything around us? Try activities that bring those senses back into play, like baking, gardening, even something like pottery. If we start incorporating more of these childhood joys into our life, it could actually impact like our work and our relationships, even like our overall outlook on things. When we feel more joyful and connected to who we really are, it naturally spills over into everything. You become more creative and more resilient. These, quote unquote, childish activities, maybe they're not so childish after all. They're about tapping into a fundamental part of who we are. That sense of wonder and creativity, it's in all of us. But is there a downside to all this? Could revisiting childhood joys become like an escape from being a grown-up instead of a healthy way to connect with ourselves? It is definitely important to find that balance. You don't want to avoid your responsibilities. It's about bringing those childlike qualities into your adult life, that joy, that curiosity, that creativity. So not ignoring responsibilities, but finding ways to bring more joy into them. Maybe it's bringing a little creativity to a work project, or finding a playful way to connect with your kids or your partner. It's about finding those tiny moments of joy and wonder in our everyday lives. Doing these playful activities can actually help us access the part of our brain that's responsible for creativity and imagination. So it's like we're retraining our brains to think outside the box. We're breaking free from those rigid adult mindsets and allowing ourselves to be more open, more curious, more imaginative. So how does this connect with the theme for this month, the eagle? It kind of gets to the heart of why this is day 8 of our challenge, vision, clarity, possibilities. Think about it. When we were kids, We saw the world with such open, curious eyes, right? There were no limitations. Anything felt possible. That's the kind of vision we're trying to recapture here. So it's like we're using those childhood joys as a lens to see the world with fresh eyes, like from a new perspective. And when we can see things with fresh eyes, well, that's when we find new solutions to problems, new paths to explore, new ways to connect with ourselves and the world. It's like the eagle soaring above it all, getting that broader perspective, seeing all the different paths we can take. The core message is revisiting a childhood joy. It's about way more than just nostalgia. It's about reconnecting with who you really are, rekindling that sense of wonder and playfulness. And ultimately, it's about unlocking new possibilities in your life. It's giving ourselves permission to tap into our inner child and just see where it takes us. And it might just lead to a more joyful, fulfilling, and creative life. It's about remembering that joy and play, they're not just for kids, they're essential for us to thrive as adults. So, what childhood joy can you reconnect with this week? What little act of playfulness can you bring into your life? And today's daily prompt is, what feelings did reconnecting with childhood joy bring up for you? I'll see you tomorrow for day 9, self care evening.